Hello, it's Tristan here from ZebraInvest, and today we're sitting down with Racheal Troughton and from the Solopreneur Podcast. She also does a bit of coaching and helping, so if anything that we're chatting about, she can help you with, reach out and get in touch with her. But we want to help through and go through 5-6 steps to making a successful flip. As you would have seen, I've been walking around projects and done various different bits, saying 1 beds to 2 beds and flip properties, but there's most definitely some bits that I haven't always got absolutely nailed right, and maybe that's why I'm sitting on one of them at the moment. But yeah, so I'll hand over to you, but you've got a few little ideas. So I always heard it was a good idea to get in and try and make your property look pretty.
Pretty is good, but actually not every building you've come across is going to be good for a flip. You've got to start off before you've even bought it, working out who's going to live in it, who wants to buy it, because they are the one that's going to be paying you. And you want that building, from the moment you finish it, to be flying off the shelf as quickly as possible, because it's going to take time to get that money in. So from the word off, it's not about concentrating on the building. It's what is the art of the possible with the minimum amount of money to spend on it and the minimum amount of time and the maximum amount of uplift for the majority of people who want to buy it. Because the more people who go, got to have it, the better your price is going to be.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think, like as you were chatting about earlier, it's about dressing a property.
Yes, I think dressing a property is very important. Now, that doesn't mean to say that it looks like, a Barrett show home, because none of us, frankly, can afford those budgets. But what you can do is put a double bed into a room that needs a double bed. You can put mirrors up, you can put pictures up, you can dress to a certain degree with sofas and things like that. I, for instance, have a washing machine that doesn't have any innards, so I can pick it up with my thing. I have flat screen televisions that have got no innards. Again, I can move them really easily. It's all the little things that make a home a home.
You actually realise what should be there.
Yeah, so if say you're doing a room that's got a seating area and a dining area, it's impossible to work out that you can get more than 2 people in there unless you put the round table in or whatever it is you've got, and the sofas.
Well, my girlfriend and I recently bought a house, and it was so funny. We went to it, and her main concern was that we couldn't get everyone in for Christmas. And we now have it's a double-sized L-shaped sofa. It's colossal, and we actually had it left over from a project.
Oh wow, that's lucky. Yes.
And she said, "Oh yeah, we can sit at least 8 people in there." It's until, as you said, you put a sofa in there or a dining table, and everyone's thinking, "Oh, that's quite small." It's not at all.
It's not at all. No, and then it's once but. To get to that point, you have got to make sure that your numbers work. And, it's very easy to get, it's such a cliche, the numbers and the figure you buy it for will actually determine whether or not you're going to have a success on your hand, because you cannot determine what the market is going to do. And if that has a little plunge, well, that is unfortunate, but you need to be able to get through that. So what you don't want to do is hope. Hope is death to a flip. So I've had clients whose flips have failed, not because they've done anything wrong, because they bought at the wrong price. Yeah. And often it's because they bought at auction, got really overexcited at auction. Even 10 grand over price will wipe out your profit.
I've seen it a few times with people who, when I've done my numbers, and I've spoken about it before, I stole them from Susie. But so what I always do is I take the end value, take off 20%. Yep. And then I used to take off 8% for costs, but now with stamp duty having gone up, interest rates being higher, and then I take off another 10%. Yeah. And then I then take off the refurbishment cost and then take it back, and so you're at the bottom. But the 20% profit margin at the top allows for a couple of bits, and not necessarily the comfortable way to think about it, but if it then ends up costing a bit more to do the project, well, you've still got,
yes, because you have got to pay yourself. Yeah. Otherwise, this is just a very fun hobby. And that's what that 20% there is really, is your money. And if you always view that, and remember, you've got to remember that, you won't be quite so quick to spend it, will you, if it's your money you're spending. Yeah. But also, if you are buying at auction, have you read the pack as to whether or not you're going to be paying large fees? One of my clients had a 16 grand fee slapped on her. But that would have been a nice profit.
That would have been a nice profit.
There wasn't any when she finished. Not her fault. She did brilliantly other than that, yeah.
Well, no, I would look through and scour through them. But I was going to say, the next one, you were chatting about spending where it's needed.
Oh, spending where it needed. This is not your forever home. So if, yes, it's very nice to have bifocal doors and all the rest of it, but forever people can put that in. It's your job to maximize the space, to make it really good. If you can get planning on it, even better, because you can then do the minimum and allow someone to move in. You can make it look fantastic, paint job and a few things, flowers around the place is fantastic. But what will suck them in is the fact that they've got a wrap-round conservatory that they can put on, because most people find planning difficult. That, that is definitely a dark art as far as most people are concerned. But if you're into property, it's not.
Well, I think one of the ones with the spending where it's needed is, for example, I've got a flat. It was a couple of years ago, and what we actually did was went in, and it was a shaker kitchen, but a shaker kitchen from probably about 2008, 2009.
So it's looking a bit dated.
It's got the oak finish, it's got a rust, and you're looking at it, and it's like, actually, if anyone's known now, or if you ever go to Magna or anywhere that's selling kitchens, shaker is all in again.
Yes.
And so what we ended up, we lifted all the worktops off, resprayed all the inside of the cupboards, resprayed all of the doors, and then suddenly we now have this really nice dark navy blue kitchen.
Oh, which is so in.
With like an oak worktop with metro tiles on the splashback. But the bit was the actual kitchen itself would have been probably about £3,000-4,000.
Yep.
And there was actually a massive saving by spending, really, I didn't need to replace that kitchen.
No.
It just needed to look better.
Yes, and it is about taking bits out of, so if it's a very crowded kitchen, because people who live somewhere full-time need more storage than someone who's just there temporarily or renting. So it is just about going, what is going to really appeal to the buyer, not the person who's going to live there the longest. It's the buyer you want to work out on. So it is, electricity is always good. Trust me, I have seen people who have thought they'll skimp on the electricity and there's an amazing kitchen, but they haven't put more plugs in. A woman is going to notice she cannot put the kettle and the toaster and the KitchenAid all in one, and the air fryer. They've all got to have spaces, and so has your phone. Your phone's got to be pluggable in.
And then I think we said, so with it, we were chatting about, making sure that you've always got the right exit strategy.
Yes. Because, you, as I said earlier, you can't control the market. So I've brought properties to market on the day that, for instance, Lehman Brothers crashed. Nobody could get mortgages for about 6 weeks. Well, that was no good. And when you're at the beginning of a disaster, you can't see how long it's going to last. Yeah. So you've got to have a plan. And if you've got a plan, no one can push you sideways. So you know that you're going to have it on the market for 8 weeks at the full price. Then you're going to reduce it. Then you'll reduce it again. Then you're going to rent. Yeah. Until the market improves. Because if you just go leaving it around, it becomes old and stale. And then guess what? Other investors start sniffing around and looking for a below market value deal, because you're desperate then, aren't you?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think you always need to make sure you're using the right estate agent when it comes to selling.
Yes. And also you have got to make the property fit into its neighborhood. So, if everybody around you has got wooden doors and gateways and fences, then perhaps your clever metal ones aren't going to be what they want. And likewise, don't be the one who's got sad looking wooden ones when everyone else has got gilt, because you're not going to fit in.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think one of the bits I've done is, I always try and match up with the area. And I know some people who try and you'll see, I know it definitely works. I think if you're doing a buy, refurbish, refinance, probably far better. If you're trying to kind of go for the top end of the market, but you can demonstrate there's other good ones in the area that have done then it could work. But when it comes to a flip, I think you need to make sure you're almost, run of the mill is not the right description, but you need to be the best of the bunch that are out there.
Best of the competition at the same, you need to be at the top of the cream on that price band. And the other thing you have to do is make sure that your photographs are always brilliant. It's worth doing a little bit more money on that. And then employing someone to make sure the hedges are cut, the rubbish is taken away, the grass is cut, because people do drive-bys and then they cancel on the agent saying it didn't look very nice. Yeah. And the agent's left going, but you should see inside. Too late.
Yeah, it's definitely. All right, well, thank you very much for that. So hopefully you've liked this. If you've got any comments or any questions about flips, drop them in the comments box below. Hopefully you like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a few more videos with Racheal. So if you fancy following along, be my guest. Or go and listen to her on the Solopreneur Podcast as well. Cheers.
Thank you very much.